A reading from the book of Sirach. If you choose, you can keep the commandments. They will save you. If you trust in God, you too shall live. He has set before you fire and water. To whichever you choose, stretch forth your hand. Before man are life and death, good and evil. Whichever he chooses shall be given him. Immense is the wisdom of the Lord. He is mighty in power and all-seeing. The eyes of God are on those who fear him. He understands men's every need. No one does he command to act unjustly. To none does he receive license to sin. The word of the Lord. Blessed are they who follow the law of the Lord. Blessed are they whose way is blameless, who walk in the law of the Lord. Blessed are they who observe his decrees, who seek him with all their heart. Blessed are they who follow the law of the Lord. You commanded that your precepts be diligently kept, all that I might be firm in the ways of keeping your statutes. Blessed are they who follow the law of the Lord. Be good to your servant, that I may live and keep your words. Open my eyes, that I may consider the wonders of your law. Blessed are they who follow the law of the Lord. Instruct me, O Lord, in the way of your statutes, that I might exactly observe them. Give me discernment, that I may observe your law and keep it with all my heart. Blessed are they who follow the law of the Lord.
A reading from the first letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians. Brothers and sisters, we speak a wisdom to those who are mature, not a wisdom of this age, nor of the rulers of this age who are passing away. Rather, we speak God's wisdom, mysterious, hidden, which God predetermined before the ages for our glory, and which none of the rulers of this age knew. For if they had known it, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. But as it is written, what eye has not seen, and ear has not heard, and what has not entered the human heart, what God has prepared for those who love him, this God has revealed to us through the Spirit. For the Spirit scrutinizes everything, even in the depths of God. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia. Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia. Blessed are you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth. You have revealed to little ones the mysteries of the kingdom. Alleluia, alleluia,
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus said to his disciples, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law of the prophets. I have come not to abolish, but to fulfill. Amen, I say to you, until heaven and earth pass away, not the smallest letter or the smallest part of a letter will pass from the law, until all things have taken place. Therefore, whoever breaks one of these, the least of these commandments, and teaches others to do so, will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever obeys and teaches these commandments will be called greatest in the kingdom of heaven. I tell you, unless your righteousness surpasses that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. You have heard that it was said to your ancestors, 'You shall not kill, and whoever kills will be liable to judgment.' But I say to you, whoever is angry with a brother or sister will be liable to judgment. And whoever says to another Rakwa will be answerable to the Sanhedrin. And whoever says you fool will be liable to fiery Gehenna. Therefore, if you bring your gift to the altar, and there recall that your brother or sister has anything against you, leave your gift there at the altar. Go first and be reconciled with the other, and then come and offer your gift. Settle with your opponent quickly while on the way to court. Otherwise, your opponent will hand you over to the judge, and the judge will hand you over to the guard, and you will be thrown into prison. Amen, I say to you, you will not be released until you have paid the last penny. You have heard that it was said, 'You shall not commit adultery.' But I say to you, everyone who looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery with her in his heart. If your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one of your members than to have your whole body thrown into Gehenna. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. For it is better for you to lose one of your members than to have your whole body go into Gehenna. It was also said, 'Whoever divorces his wife must give her a bill of divorce.' But I say to you, whoever divorces his wife, unless the marriage is unlawful, causes her to commit adultery. And whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery. Again, you have heard that it was said to your ancestors, 'Do not take a false oath, but make good to the Lord all that you vow.' But I say to you, do not swear at all, not by heaven, for it is God's throne, nor by the earth, for it is God's footstool, nor by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great King. Do not swear by your head, for you cannot make a single hair white or black. Let your yes be yes, and your no mean no. Anything more is from the evil one." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Good evening. Good morning. Oh, these 4 o'clock morning risings are challenging. They can disorient one. You know, it struck me that ideas are quirky realities. I say that because sometimes you can think and think and think and think and think and come up with nothing. And other times, ideas just seem to spring out of nowhere. I know, because it's happened to me on more than one occasion, whether writing a paper or preparing a homily. And I can still remember one time reading Consumer Reports. Now trust me, when I'm trying to get an idea for a homily, I don't hurry off to Consumer Reports. But I was reading the magazine, and I kept reading it, and came across an interesting article. Can anger be fatal? Hostility and the Heart. And it happened to be on a weekend like this, where Jesus gave us this teaching about anger and the heart. As you and I listen to the gospel, Jesus began by telling us he came not to abolish the law, but to fulfill the law. And he becomes very clear in teaching his disciples that to fulfill the law, sometimes you will have to go beyond the law. In order to fulfill the law, you will sometimes have to go beyond the law and its demands. And he does so by saying, you have heard it said, you shall not kill. And if you do, you will be held for judgment. Then he says, but I say to you, if you are angry with a brother or sister, you will be held liable for judgment. And my heart just said, whoa, Lord, I mean, who among us here has not been mildly irritated, perhaps even intensely angered? And I know my hand, like yours, would have to go up. And Jesus is saying, we cannot be angry with one another. But keep in mind, the gospel was written in Greek. And the Greek word that we hear that's in the gospel is translated today with the word anger. But in previous, older English translations of the Bible, a different word was given. And that word was wrathful. Wrathful, which is a much more intense form of anger. People who are filled with wrath have a determination. And that determination is to hurt back for the hurts inflicted on them. That's the kind of anger Jesus is saying, be attentive to. Then he goes on and says, and do not call a brother or sister Rakwa. Now I could sigh with relief on that one. I have never called anyone Rakwa in my life. And I doubt you have either. But again, the Greek translation for Rakwa is the word infidel. And it's a way of satanizing another person. And then Jesus goes on and says, and do not call a brother or sister a fool. And again, my hand would have to go up saying, guilty, just like many of you. I think what Jesus is saying is be careful. Be careful how you speak about one another. And do not use words that denigrate or demean another human being. Because as soon as you denigrate and demean another, you open yourself to the possibility of being savage in response to them. Then Jesus went on in his teaching, and he said, and when you bring your gift to the holy table, and you realize that you have offended someone, leave your gift at the table, go first and be reconciled, then come back and offer your gift. Now, Jesus is saying there, reconciliation and being in harmony with one another has to be an absolute constant in our life journey. I think he's saying, be humble enough to acknowledge that you and I have the power to hurt and harm others. And against that power, be courageous enough to take responsibility for those moments. Approach the other, seeking reconciliation. Now, Jesus understood our seeking reconciliation does not determine the choice of another. But what he is saying, unless the constancy of wanting to be in union with others is part of our journey, we have no gift to offer our God. Jesus is telling us today very plainly, forgiveness and reconciliation are much more important than anger, irritation, and hurting one another. I think he's saying be attentive to these moments of disturbance within you. Attend to them, because when you don't, they continue to build and grow, and sometimes explode with destructive force to others and ourselves. You know, it's very much like great love. People who achieve great love get there by doing small acts of love, day in and day out. I can still remember reading the autobiography of St. Therese of the Child Jesus. And at one point, she gave this very simple advice that I immediately memorized. Where there is no love, put love, and you will find love. Where there is no love, put your love, and you will find love. Unfortunately, I don't always choose to live that way. But I have memorized the verse. And I do return to it more often than not. Now I begin with that article. Can anger be fatal? Hostility and the heart. And the author went on to say, after 20 plus years of study, it is clear that anger is a significant factor in the primary cause of death in our nation, heart attacks. And here's Jesus today, talking about anger, talking about how we speak of one another, and encouraging us to be in reconciliation. Jesus understood so clearly that reconciliation and forgiveness are far more important than keeping the law. And forgiveness and reconciliation will demand, time and again, that we step beyond the demands of the law. Jesus has set the standard. It remains for us to choose to follow.